bring in Luna Venture Partners CEO Rob Luna. Rob, what does this tell you about the market? What does it tell you about AI? What do you make of the deal?
Well, look, everything is transitioning to AI right now, and I think, there's this whole antitrust issue with Google and Chrome potentially having to be spun out. I personally think this is a lowball offer. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen at a much lower valuation. Of course, Google, I believe, would rather not sell that asset, but I think you're going to see a lot more of that. And that's, one of the things, Jerry, we're so early in the early innings of AI right now. When you start looking at valuations in terms of takeovers, in terms of can we find, Kenny just talked about some stocks that are cheap. Artificial intelligence stocks are not cheap now. They're not going to be cheap tomorrow. Just like Amazon in the 90s, these are going to be high valuation, high multiple names for the years to come. You don't want to miss this because you're looking for something cheap. And
I just want to jump in here. You've got this interesting point of view. You have a three-pronged strategy for investing in AI, infrastructure, pure play, and quantum, and the build-out. I just want you to go over this for me because, my view was that, hey, NVIDIA is way overpriced now. It's over. Take your cards and go home. But you're saying no way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people believe that. It's like I said, it's very, very early on. You could have said that about Amazon for decades. There's so many stocks at the beginning of this cycle that I've said are going to look overvalued. But NVIDIA continues to be a market dominator. That's not going anywhere soon. The need for their chips is going to be increasing. And so if you're looking at the infrastructure plays, I think you got to look right now at NVIDIA. They're the #1 leader. If you want a secondary play, that's Taiwan Semiconductor. And then quantum computing, this is, very, very early on. Even when you look at ChatGPT, AI, OpenAI with Sam Altman, they're not even using really, at least as far as they've said, quantum computing yet. But look at a name like D-Wave. You've got Rigetti that's going to be reporting after the bell, so I would wait for that one. But IONQ also, huge revenue growth, and they're just at the early adoption of commercial. So that's another way that I'd be playing it. And finally, I think what you want to look at is Astera Labs, Arista Networks. This is kind of the infrastructure, the highway, if you will, that puts it all together, makes it efficient and effective, and allows multiple players to get into this system without having to invest in that infrastructure, which I think is really probably one of the most undervalued trades right now, especially Astera Labs. That's a name I would definitely be looking at if you're not in the space.
Lovely. I think that's so interesting. And another interesting thing you said was that everybody should be spending an hour, if you're an investor, an hour a day studying AI. Really? Is it that hard to understand?
Well, I think most people are maybe using ChatGPT right now, like Google, and that's the extent of what they're using. One thing we just talked about Google, for example, in Chrome. I think people are underestimating the power, especially with AI, of YouTube right now. And this is one of those things, if you look at Sam Altman right now, is doing interview after interview about ChatGPT, one of the smartest guys out there. You're able to go and get free education. If you're not taking advantage of that today, last thing I'll say about that, he said any child in his last interview that is born today will not come close to the intellectual power of AI. And if that's the case, which I believe it is, this is something that you have to be integrating in your day-to-day life, in your business, how you're learning. And again, I think this is very, very early innings from an investment thesis, from a business thesis. We're looking at every stock we invest in today of how are they adopting to AI. If they don't have a game plan, we're not investing in it.
I'm going to give you a shout out. You recommended, I believe it's Oklo, OKLO, to viewers back in January. The stock up over 8% today. Do you have any takeaways from their latest earnings report?
Well, that's one of the things I've been talking, that's another Sam Altman investment. Part of this approach, I gave you 3 prongs today. The other one is you need energy to fuel this, and Oklo and nanonuclear technology, SMR. These are companies, again, we need energy to fuel this. AI is the play. And so if you think you're late to Oklo, I think you're really actually early to those names. But again, they're not going to be cheap. Don't look for cheap valuations on these names.
Fascinating stuff. Rob, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.